Hi, I'm John Stevenson, and we're going to be looking at Song of Songs, chapter 6, in our continuing study through this book. We begin in verse 1. Where has your beloved gone? This is the daughters of Jerusalem speaking. O most beautiful among women, where has your beloved turned that we may seek him with you? So there's a quest now for the man, for Solomon. It's repeated. Where's your beloved gone? Where's your beloved turned? In the past, she's been looking. They're saying, we'll help you look. Verse 2, she answers, my beloved has gone down to his garden. Now, in the past, we looked at that garden as being maybe a euphemism for part of her body, part of their. I'm not sure if that's still in view here. Notice because we have a further expression to the beds of balsam to pasture his flock in the garden. So there's going to be some pasturing there. Now maybe you can, figure out some other ways. And notice, and to gather lilies. You say, wait a second, she called herself the lily of the valley. Remember, uh, verse 3: I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. Again, we have this. We've seen it before where there is a statement of mutual possession. I am his and he is mine. Of course, we say that about the Lord as well, don't we? We belong to him, but also he is our God. And so that idea of mutual possession, and then he who pastures his flock among the lilies, again, the lilies mentioned. So maybe there is something to this tying this description with the union of their bodies. Now he is going to speak now, and in his speech he's going to give another description of her. We already saw that in chapter 4, where she is described by him. Now she's described again, and there's going to be a lot of repetition. So I'm not going to make a big point of describing the meaning behind that, because you already read it. You can always go back to chapter 4, verses 1 through 15, and see almost the same thing. There are a few differences. We start off, you were as beautiful as Tirzah, my darling. Now, Tirzah was the initial capital of the northern kingdom when the Israel first divided into north and south, and as lovely as Jerusalem. And when it did divide, Jerusalem before that and after that continued to be the capital, first of all of Israel, and then of just the southern kingdom once that division took place. So these are two capital cities, and she's been likened to both of them. As awesome as an army with banners, turn your eyes away from me, for they have confused me. We've seen this before, where he just finds her gaze hypnotic, and he's taken with her look. Your hair is like a flock of goats, and we've seen that before, that have descended from Gilead, and it's sort of wild, not in a bad sense, but just a hair that's almost has a life of its own. Your teeth are like a flock of ewes, which have come up from their washing, all of which were twins. Not one among them has lost her young. Again, we've seen that one before. Verse 7, your temples are like a slice of pomegranate behind your veil. So this is a repetition of that description. Verse 8, he continues, there are 60 queens and 80 concubines and maidens without number. Now, remember how eventually Solomon ends up with quite a number of wives. I don't know if these are his or how that is. We're not told. But my dove, my perfect one, is unique. So that, yes, they are there. Yes, though in Solomon's case, it was marriages for the most part, if not all of them, were for political reasons, marriages that unified his kingdom and those kingdoms around him. But this one's special, and so notice she's called my dove. My perfect one is unique. She is her mother's only daughter. Again, this unique idea. Think about how Jesus is called the only begotten Son. She's the only, but she's a woman, so she's not the son, daughter instead. She is the pure child of the one who bore her. Um, and so notice she's the daughter, the pure child. The maiden saw her and called her blessed. The queens and the concubines that we read about in the previous verse also, and they praised her, saying, and here's what they said, verse 10. So the groom is still speaking, but he's quoting now the queens and concubines. Who is this that grows like the dawn, as beautiful as the full moon? She's being described in astronomical terms, as pure as the sun, as awesome as an army with banners. Verse 11, now he's still speaking. I went down to the orchard of nut trees to see the blossoms of the valley, to see whether the vine had budded or the pomegranates had bloomed. He goes back, and now is this, are we talking literal valley and literal fruit, and he's overseeing his crops and things like that? Or is this going back to her, or, remember with the mention of those queens and concubines, I'm not sure how they came into that picture. But he's going about his business or her business or some sort of business, but verse 12 is what I want to look at. Before I was aware, my soul set me over the chariots of my noble people. Here it sounds like he's being called back to, well, there's the business of state. They had come together, they had gotten married, they had gone on their honeymoon, they had been out sort of in a country setting, um, but now we've got to get back to the city. There are things to be done, and he's not leaving her; he's inviting her to join him. So we see this, verse 13. Come back, O Shulamite. Come back, that we may gaze at you. Why should you gaze at the Shulamite as at the dance of the two companies? Now, I want to look at that term Shulamite, and it's with the definite article. When we first see that, we say, okay, that's somebody from a place called Shulam. And there does seem to have been, I don't think it's mentioned in the Bible, but there is a town by the name of Shulam, a little town that is in the valley of Jezreel, that farmer area, that place that's very fertile. Could it be that she is from there, and then it's called the Shulamite? That's the common thinking, but I think there's something just a little more than that. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying maybe there's another reason why she's called the Shulamite, just because, not just because of the town, although I agree that fits, especially with the definite article. But the term Shulamite, that's what we have here. Um, it sounds very much like the feminine version of the Hebrew name Shlomo, which is what we call Solomon. So you have Shlomo, that's Mr. Solomon, and then you have Shulamit, that's Mrs. Solomon. That works nicely, but it's also the place where she's from. I'm not saying it's one or the other. I'm saying which is it? I think it's perhaps both that are in view here. Now we're not done yet. Notice that phrase at the bottom, as at the dance of the two companies. And that, I think, might be significant. The dance of the two companies. You see, it refers back to a place, um, Mahanaim, Genesis chapter 32. This is the story of Jacob and his family coming back into the land after they had been in Haran, and Jacob had been there for 21 years or so. And he's coming back into the land. And notice as he arrives, now as Jacob went on his way, the angels of God met him. Jacob said when he saw them, "This is God's camp." So he named that place Mahanaim, um, two companies, or two camps. You can translate it either way, camps or companies. And so here was the dance of the two companies. Now, the term is used again just a few verses later. Remember the story about how he gets back there. He has this vision. He actually takes his one camp and splits it into two, and he's trying to send presents on to Esau because he's heard Esau is coming and maybe gunning for him. And Esau finally shows up. Now, this is after Jacob has wrestled with the angel. And by that time, it's okay. By that time, it's not a problem anymore. But Esau shows up, and Jacob says to Esau, "I am unworthy of all the loving kindness and of all the faithfulness which you have shown your servant. For with my staff only I crossed the Jordan. I left with just me and my staff. And now I have become, and again, same word here, I have become two companies. So not only does he see the companies of God, and he gives the place that name. That place became eventually a town and a city and had that name, Mahanaim. But here he says, I have become two companies. He with his wives and children. And so notice the dance of the two companies, the dance of the Mahanaim, almost has this idea of reproduction and growing and God's camp, but also our camp. And there's a sense in which we belong to God's camp, but we also belong in a sense to a camp down here. We have a heavenly group of which we are members, but we're also down here as well. And the delight is when the groups merge. Now, I'm not sure how the dance of the two companies was performed, but maybe what it represents, at least in part, is that eventually the dance becomes one group. The two merge and become one group, and that's our story. That's the story of a husband and a wife, but it's also our story with the Lord.